Welcome to A Course in Miracles, Living the Love, Walking the Talk with Reverend Jennifer Hadley.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm back in the USA, as the song says, and after 3 weeks in Europe. So that was really fun. And I would like to, just at the top of the show, first thing I'd like to say is a couple weeks ago, I did a show live from Dublin with Lorna Byrne, who is one of my heroes. She's not a Course in Miracles person, but she is one of my heroes. She's the author of Angels in My Hair. And our show together was so precious, but I got the time zone wrong. So it's on you can get the download, but it didn't go out live. So you can get it in the archive. And remember that there's a couple ways to access the archive. You can go to unity.fm and get the archive there, or you can go to iTunes and just search for Jennifer Hadley and you'll find the Unity archive right there. And if you do so in the archive, you'll see there are a lot of great shows with folks like Ken Wapnick, Gary Renard, David Hoffmeister, John Mundy, Rhonda Britton, Regina Dawn Akers, Tama Keeves, I think Earl Purdy. I can't even remember them all now. And so there's lots and lots of good free content for you if you just go ask and it is given. So I really, really invite you to listen to the Lorna Byrne show. It meant so much to me to be able to do it with her. So I'm going to open us with a prayer, as I always do, and then I've got my special guest, Cindy Laura Renard, with us. So let's place our hand on our heart and take this breath of love and gratitude together and be so grateful and so thankful for the love of God living through us and as us right now. The love of God is our true identity. We are the living, loving presence of God in our own life, in this world. We are aligning right now. We partner up with the higher Holy Spirit self, and we place our trust and faith in the I am that I am, in the love of God that is omnipresent and omnipotent. We're grateful and thankful right now to hand it all over and to follow divine direction in our relationships, in our work, in the care of our body temple, in all areas of our life. We're following divine guidance. We are inspired and led to the most loving choices with grace and with gratitude. In joy, we share the benefits of our healing and our expansion with everyone because we're one with them. In gratitude, we let it be. And so it is. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. And I am so excited to introduce Cindy Laura Renard, first time on the show. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, Jennifer. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm just going to tell folks, Cindy, that I was over at your house about a month ago, and recording something with Gary, and we were hanging out and talking, and you gave me a copy of your new CD, Meditations for Couples, and I love the subtitle of your CD, Awakening to Love's Presence Through Partnership. And so it's with you and your husband Gary Renard, and many of us know Gary. I say all the time that I think that A Course in Miracles is my favorite book, and that Disappearance of the Universe, Gary's first book, is the most important book I ever read because it verified that I wasn't a crazy person. because I've been thinking so many of the things that are so clearly articulated in Disappearance of the Universe, but I had never really talked about them with anyone because I didn't want people to think I was crazy. And and it's interesting for me to say that because at the time I read it, I was a minister in Science of Mind, a practitioner, but to me there's just a level of clarity in Disappearance of the Universe. And for many people, it is what I call the decoder ring for A Course in Miracles. So many people feel confused by A Course in Miracles, and Disappearance helps them understand it. So you and Gary have been doing some wonderful things. You've been joining Gary in the workshops and the talks that he's been doing, and you two have made you made a music CD that you released. Was that last year or was that earlier this year? I can't even remember now.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of last year, 2011.
Okay.
With a collection of some of our favorite popular songs, and then we each wrote an original song on there. Gary wrote one called "Lay With Me," and I wrote one. It's all about A Course in Miracles, called "Living the Dream." So it was a fun CD that we did together.
Yeah. And you've been singing and performing together in the workshops that you've been doing around the world.
Yeah, I've been participating a little bit more, now with Gary, and it kind of seemed like a natural progression for me. I knew there would come a point where I would start to make myself a little more visible, and, we found that the music works really well mixed in with the teachings of A Course in Miracles in the workshops. It kind of brings a feeling aspect to the teachings as opposed to, intellectualizing everything, which is great. There's a lot of teachings, so having the music in there kind of softens it up a little bit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
brings in, the more intuitive
music
nature.
So nourishing and so healing, and it softens things up. It definitely helps us get into the heart. Mm-hmm. And Course in Miracles can be so intellectual, so anything we can do to get in the heart really assists our understanding of the message of A Course in Miracles.
Yes. And I look at music also as a way of helping the ego to relax, because people will find in that Art and Impersa, the teachers in Gary's books, have a chapter coming up in his next book, and it's all about ways to get the ego to relax, because the ego can learn, the ego can be educated. And, one of the ways I get my own ego to relax is through the use of music. So I usually start off our workshops actually with a song, to get everybody grounded, in touch with the Holy Spirit, in a centered, heart-centered place. And that seems to work really well to kind of, start the day off. Which is another point I'd love to make, is that it's actually a really great way to start off your day, finding some way to put the Holy Spirit in charge of your day. I say something like, Holy Spirit, you be in charge of my day today. You be in charge of my thoughts and my actions, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. And then I just let it go, and then I just remained in a mindful place throughout the day. Being in a mindful place is kind of being in a meditative state. Not that you literally have to meditate all day, but it's being mindful. It's being kind of aware of what the truth is periodically throughout the day, and remembering that we're always connected, with the Holy Spirit's presence in our right minds, and it's important to remember to do that, not only when things seem to be going wrong, but when things are going right, remember that, no matter what happens, that you can always remember the basic truth underlying everything, which is that there's nothing to fear, that God is, and that, just because things are going wrong, it doesn't mean that we can't use the power of our minds to change our mind about what it is we're experiencing and what it is we're thinking. And so what I love about A Course in Miracles is that it trains the mind to be in an automatic, state of miracle readiness as opposed to being in an automatic state of judgment where the ego just loves to judge constantly. But we can learn to, train our minds. So, we're in an automatic state of, forgiving. And that's what these meditations for couples CD that Gary and I did together, that's what they help people do. It helps, it was really born out of our desire to inspire couples to use the challenges in the relationships as opportunities to grow and learn, as opposed to using it for the ego's purpose, which is to identify with the pain, guilt, and fear in the mind. It helps people to choose the strength of Christ within them by remembering the truth and what everything is for, which is for forgiveness. So each segment in the CD is a guided meditation which encourages, each partner to identify and accept the true cause of what their suffering is, which is always in the mind, and then learning to see the other with the correct perception, or you could call it spiritual sight, which is really a right-minded way of thinking about the other person, bringing the illusory nature of the problem to the truth and remembering their innocence, and ultimately remembering their connection with God. So the meditations are fairly short, but they're followed by a musical selection, which I compose to help, to help people deepen the experience of their connection with each other.
Well, what I love about this collection of meditations, Cindy, is, first of all, it would make the perfect Christmas gift for people, and it's a great time to release it. So thank you for that. I'm not in a romantic partnership, as my friend Laura in Ireland says. I'm an unclaimed treasure. But what I can see is there are many folks who are Course in Miracles students or simply spiritual students, because a lot of the listeners to this radio show, even though it's A Course in Miracles, a lot of them are New Thought students who haven't really studied A Course in Miracles. Or they're students of mine who haven't really studied A Course in Miracles. But because in this radio show each week we're talking about pure principle, which is the teaching of A Course in Miracles, and it really is very much the same as the Unity teachings, the Science of Mind teachings, all the New Thought teachings. So for many people who are listening who might have a spouse or a romantic partner that is not into spirituality, because it's very common, very, very common. In fact, in Disappearance of the Universe, Gary talks about his relationship with Karen and not being able to, not that he couldn't, but his perception was that he couldn't share with her a lot of what was going on for him and the sadness that caused him. Many people have that experience, and they're looking for ways to share with their partners, with their spouses, the spiritual expansion that they're feeling, that they're discovering, that they're longing for. And I really think that these meditations are a perfect way to do that. I sincerely mean that, because they are simple, they're not intimidating, and they're short. They're 8 to 10 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we design them that way on purpose, because we do find that a lot of people, it's difficult to sit still for a long time, for a lot of people. And it's actually not even necessary. It really only takes, a good 5 minutes, to, get in touch, with the Holy Spirit. It doesn't have to take long. And so they're designed to be effective, yet short but sweet and hopefully helpful. And just to give people an idea of there's 8 different segments on there. The first one is called Experiencing Intimacy. Then there's Resolving Conflict, Removing Stress and Anxiety, Self-Forgiveness, Co-Creating, Allowing in Your Life Partner, and Connecting with the Divine. So those are the different segments. And we find that these particular areas are what people have the most trouble with in the relationships. I give spiritual guidance counseling sessions over the phone, and a lot of people come to me with, most of the time with issues with their partner that they're having. So, Gary and I sat down one day and just talked about this, what we can do. What can we do to help people inspire? What can we do to inspire joining, with couples? And we just kind of came in, and we just thought, meditations for couples, and it just kind of just started to flow. And we said, yeah, that would be great to, something that encourages couples, something positive that they can do together, join, with a common goal, which brings up another quick point I wanted to make about, part of building a holy relationship is, not seeing another's interests as separate from your own.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really, we're all the same. Underneath we are all the same, and it's really helpful to actually see the other, that everybody is after the same goal. Everybody wants to feel love and be loved and be understood and be accepted and acknowledged. We all want that. We just go about it sometimes in different ways. So these meditations encourage that.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of questions for you. We're getting ready to go to a break shortly, and so I'm going to hold some of those questions, but I also want to point people to the whole conversation about holy relationship. So in A Course in Miracles, it talks about special relationship, which is an ego-based relationship, and transforming your relationship into a holy relationship, which is a spirit-based relationship. And in the month of February, in the archives, because I mentioned the archives at the top of the show, if you look in the archives here at unity.fm or at iTunes for the show, you'll see the month of February, I totally focused on relationship, and we talked about holy relationship versus special relationship every single week. And so I just want to give that definition for people to contemplate as we go into the break here, that a special relationship, and it's interesting, Cindy, this is how I describe it. A special relationship has the basic premise that we're in this relationship because you plus me equals shelter against the storm. So it's creating this shelter and sense of separation against the rest of the world. Now, a special relationship can also be one that's angry and hostile and enemies. But the holy relationship is one where our whole purpose is to have a greater understanding of the oneness of all life, and that we are one with each other. And so we can ask the Holy Spirit, we can ask our higher self to transform any relationship from ego-based to spirit-based, and the process will immediately begin. And as long as we stay in it, it will continue. So we're going to continue right now into the break. I'm Jennifer Hadley with guest Cindy Laura Renard. You're listening to A Course in Miracles on unity.fm. We'll be right back. So I'm back with Cindy Laura Renard, and we're talking about her CD that she made with her husband, Gary Renard, author of Disappearance of the Universe. The CD is Meditations for Couples, Awakening to Love's Presence Through Partnership. And just before we went to break, we were talking about holy relationship versus special relationship. And, I'd love to just talk about that with you for a few minutes, Cindy. And because it's a journey. It's a journey, and I know you do the counseling with people, individuals. Do you do counseling with couples as well?
Not at this time, but I'm certainly open to that.
Yeah, well, I've been doing counseling with individuals and couples for 12 years, and I can tell you it's really interesting. I have witnessed so many people, and so many people have shared with me their experience of being in a relationship that was just like agony, absolute agony, and people feeling, I've got to get out of this relationship. I want to end this relationship. And my counsel to them has been, okay, let's just look at this for a second. If you're one with this person, and you're both eternal, how do you actually end a relationship? I don't see that there actually is a way to do that. So since you're going to be one with them for all eternity, the relationship is going to continue forever. How about if we heal the relationship instead? And by turning it over to the higher self, the holy self, I say the higher Holy Spirit self, because many people, particularly Course in Miracles students, will tend to think of the Holy Spirit as being separate from them versus them. It is their own holiness. So we turn the relationship over, and this is chapter 17, the healed relationship, tells us exactly what to do, and I talked a lot about that last February in the radio show. So we turn the relationship over to the Holy Spirit. We have this incredible transformation. Now, sometimes it takes many, many years. Sometimes it happens very quickly. I've heard all kinds of experiences. I personally have had all kinds of experiences. And I'm going to ask you to be kind of candid, Cindy, and I didn't prepare you for this, but you've been, I've known you since as long as I've known Gary, so, because I met you both on the same day, and that was, I don't know, early 2007.
That's right.
So,
right.
Yeah, so I don't know how long you were dating then. Maybe 3-4 months?
Yeah, I think it was in 2007 that I met you when Gary first moved out to Los Angeles.
It was
at Agape.
No, it was before then. It was actually down in San Diego before he moved.
Oh, in San Diego. Yeah.
Huh?
I do remember that now.
At that
yeah.
church.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gary had just, I believe it was in 2007 when soon after then he moved out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had been, that's right, we had been together for a very short time. Then we hadn't been together for very long.
Yeah, so when
met you. Mm-hmm.
you first met Gary and you had the recognition that you had a real connection, a very strong connection. In the beginning of your relationship, were there parts of it that felt special or did you just lock right into a holy relationship?
Well, I think, building a holy relationship is a work in progress, because I couldn't sit here and honestly say that everything was all perfect all the time.
No one can.
Because, right. I mean, there's always, challenges come up, but I think what's important is to realize part of building a holy relationship is realizing that a holy relationship is a forgiven relationship. So it's by working through any issue, no matter how big or small, that you're having with your partner or whoever it is, really paying attention and identifying the parts in you that come up that are from the ego mind that perpetuates the idea of, sin, guilt, and fear. Sin, the idea being the thought of separation, and guilt and fear in the mind. So with a partner, it's all about recognizing those moments when you feel disturbed. And again, it can be something seemingly really minor that bothers you, or it could seem like something really big. But the point is to take any situation that feels disturbing to you and, bring healing to it, in that moment when you can by, I personally am a student of A Course in Miracles, so I use the Course in Miracles, definition of true forgiveness to bring healing to my own relationships, and including with Gary. But like I said, all relationships, they do take work, but they're important because we can use our relationships, we can shift the meaning of our relationships to the Holy Spirit's purpose for them, which is to bring healing to ourselves and to the parts of ourselves inside that are hurting or feeling pain, the parts of inside that are identifying with the ego. So, part of, building a holy relationship, part of that would be bringing all our illusions of ourselves and others to the truth, bringing the wrong mind to the right mind for correction so we can see ourselves and others with correct perception, which is seeing, again, with spiritual sight, which is really how you're thinking about the other person. So when I'm in relationship with Gary or with anybody, I'm mindful most of the time now about how it is I'm seeing that other person. I'm practicing every day seeing people as nothing less than God, as seeing the Christ in them, as seeing them as perfectly whole and complete, all of it, And by doing that, it's sending a message to my own unconscious mind that I am that, that I am, nothing less than God, that I am perfect, whole, and complete and innocent, not really guilty of anything. What runs the whole world is this unconscious guilt that's in the mind. And I think, a lot of people don't understand that it is that guilt that perpetuates this whole thought system, of that we've sinned and did something wrong, and by, again, bringing those illusory thoughts, because we're not really guilty of anything, to the light, by bringing that to the light, that also helps us build holy relationships with people, because you're bringing your illusions to the truth, not the other way around. The Course does say that, the truth is not in the dream, this whole dream of separation that we're dreaming right now, but it can be heard in the dream. So which, leads me to, I don't know if I have time here to maybe share a quick experience of inspiration I received.
Yes, please share that. I love this.
Yeah, Gary and I were in Switzerland a couple months ago. We were in outside of Zurich, and we were giving a workshop. And Gary was on stage at the moment speaking, and I was sitting in the back, but I was getting ready to come onto the stage. And Gary had just been talking about how Jesus isn't coming back. He's not going to incarnate anymore because 2,000 years ago he became enlightened, so he doesn't need to incarnate anymore. And he was kind of talking about that. And I was sitting there just thinking, and then as soon as Gary said that, I felt this amazing rush of energy rush through my body. I got the goosebumps all over. When that happens, I feel that Spirit is there, is present, and I'm getting more and more, adept at hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit. But so I just sat there, and I didn't know what to do. My body started to shake. I thought, this is strange. And then I started to get these words. They were just flooding into my mind, and I didn't have to, there was no effort to think at all about what was given to me. It was just words given to me, and it said, and I felt that it was Jesus, because it said, well, tell the people that the reason I'm not coming back is that I never left. I live within you. And remember that anybody that you meet on any given day, no matter who it is, treat them all as though they were me, not because I'm special in any way, but because you're all magnificent. And remember that anytime you feel any pain or suffering in any form, it's the thoughts that cause you pain. And then decide for a new thought. And then thought by thought, remember the truth. And then that was it. And my body continued to shake. And and then I thought, wow, I went up on stage then a minute later, and I was still kind of shaking, and I had the goosebumps all over, and I actually just told the crowd, I said, I just wanted to share this experience that I just had sitting in the room with you here, this message. And what really, really stuck with me about that was that it was so simple, and so gentle. And the truth is simple.
Yes.
And the ego makes everything so complicated and wants to make our lives so hard and difficult. But this gentle, loving message was, right in alignment with the message of A Course in Miracles, which says, the truth is simple. It doesn't mean it's always easy, to undo the ego. It's not always easy. It's a challenge. But the truth itself is simple. And so that experience, it really, reminded me, a lot about what, Jesus says in the Course. So what he does in the workbook of A Course in Miracles is he does say, take it thought by thought, because he understands that people are not always going to be able to make a quick shift in their mind from the ego to the Holy Spirit's interpretation of what's happening. He knows that people aren't going to be able to do that right away. So in the workbook, He actually has us replace our ego thoughts with right-minded thoughts of the Holy Spirit. And he kind of does say, take it thought by thought. And so I thought it was really interesting that that's what I was given in that message.
Well, and it's so important because many people feel overwhelmed, that it's too hard, and so they give up. And one of the things that I teach in my classes, Cindy, is if you start where I started, where you've got 10,000 negative thoughts a day, and because that's what it felt like when I started, overwhelming, 10,000, rough estimate, just so mired in negativity. But if you start from a place where you do feel overwhelmed by how many negative thoughts you're thinking, and you dedicate yourself to offering 10 of them to the Holy Spirit. In other words, by making an offering, I call it a holy offering, using like the Buddhist practice of placing it on the altar and making an offering. And you say, I'm not interested in thinking this thought anymore. Please remove it from my mind. I don't need it anymore. It has no value to me. It's not a true thought. I'm only interested in the thoughts I think with God. If you do that only 10 times a day, which it's very simple to do, it takes 10, 15 seconds, and you do it with sincerity, my experience is then the higher Holy Spirit self will remove them from your mind if you truly are not interested in them anymore. And at the end of the year, you've offloaded 3,600 thoughts that you don't need. And it's a 3-year plan. In 3 years, if you start with 10,000 negative thoughts, in 3 years, you can be free. So start today. 10 a day. It's not even 1 an hour. So but it just depends on your sincerity. And I also love, Cindy, what Jesus shared with you in that moment is the reminder of, it's what you do to the least of them, you do to me, because there's only the one. So we have this tendency to think our brothers and sisters are less than or better than, but we're not less than, we're not better than, we're not even equal to. We are one with, and that is the key to our awakening.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And part of that is, letting go of the attachment, to this idea of separation, that we really are separate, when it really is only one mind, one mind, and we all share the same mind. And I think by just, again, I think what will really help people is in the relationships is, as you said, start now, start practicing now, and use every situation that comes up in your life as an opportunity, to choose once again what you would have yourself be. If something comes up throughout the day and that disturbs you, really pay attention and be mindful and be aware of what the true cause of that is, which always comes back to the self. Bringing that back to the self, really looking at it, identifying that what part of you is that disturbance coming from? And usually the answer will be the ego. If it's something disturbing to you, it's always the ego. And then you can just ask the Holy Spirit to look at it with you. And to look with the Holy Spirit really means to see it with correct perception. It's a way of thinking about the other as the Holy Spirit would see it, not as the ego would judge it, but as the Holy Spirit would see it. And then after that, maybe, it's helpful to identify even what, the judgments are, or assumptions that you're making that are coming up about yourself or the other person, bringing them to the surface, it's not about really analyzing them, but just looking at them. And then once they're identified and the ego thoughts are brought to the surface, at least you can look at them and see them, and then you can practice forgiveness from there. You can really, forgive what, what the judgments were. And if you think about it, no one is really, really, truly in the position to judge. In fact, we can't judge, as the Course says. I mean, in order to really, truly judge, you'd have to be aware of a huge amount of information, about somebody, which is actually impossible to do.
I would say, if you can't see through all directions of time and space yet, withhold your opinions and judgments.
Yeah.
And that really helped me a lot, because I just say, well, I can't see through all directions of time and space, so I don't know what anything is for. But I'm interested. I'd like to know what things are for. Do you you know what I want to ask you? We're going to be going to a break soon, but I want to ask you, do you and Gary have fun ways of working with this with yourselves where you like, I could see you looking at Gary and he's making a choice that you might get ego triggered and you could just laugh and say, well, I don't know what anything is for, and have fun with him and be playful with that in that?
Yeah. That's exactly what I do. Sometimes you brought up something really important. Remember to laugh. Really, that is so important, to not take everything so seriously. And I have to honestly say that's one of my tricks. And it's not really a trick because the Course flat out says, this whole apparent, tiny mad idea, thought of separation, that's how it came about, is that it says the Son of God remembered not to laugh. And so what I tend to do is I remember that the best I can in situations that trigger my ego, and I just remember to lighten up, and I kind of make a joke to myself, that, I just completely turn the situation around in my mind, and I don't necessarily tell anybody I'm doing this. It's just something that I do, in my own mind, and joke with the Holy Spirit in my mind, and I just, make it kind of into a funny joke.
I'm going to ask you to give us some specific examples when we come back from the break.
Yeah.
So I'm Jennifer Hadley. I'm here with Cindy Laura Renard. You're listening to A Course in Miracles, and we're walking the talk, we're living the love, right here on Unity Online Radio. We'll be right back. So I'm here with Cindy Laura Renard, and we're talking about her Meditations for Couples CD that she made with her husband, Gary Renard. And just before I ask Cindy a couple more questions, I wanted to also let you know, everybody, that I have a free call that I am doing on this Saturday, and I'm very excited about it. I do these from time to time, and they are totally free. You can register for them, and it's an opportunity to ask me questions and spiritual teaching and principle. As you know, probably, I've been writing and sharing a lot about the time that we're in. And maybe Cindy and I can talk about this a little bit too. It's an amazing time. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is the 12-12-12 Gateway. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling tremendous energy already. We start with a new moon here Pacific time just after midnight, and there really is extraordinary energy moving to assist us, and I call it like a rocket booster. I've been writing about it in my blog, which you can read about at jenniferhadley.com, and the call on this Saturday is specifically focused about working in the invisible. So instead of trying to manifest and demonstrate things by working in form, but changing our heart so that all of life corresponds to our loving heart, we can really learn to work in the invisible. And as you well know, I am not one who is a proponent of manifesting stuff and the focus on manifestation, because I believe that the kingdom is within, and it's discovering our divinity that is the key to our happiness, not having more stuff. So, but working in the invisible, we can shift our body temple, we can shift our relationships, we can shift our health, our wealth, and everything. And it's all about aligning with our holiness. Seek first the kingdom, which is within, and all else will be added unto you. So what I share about in all my classes, in everything, is daily practical steps that we can take to live in this alignment, to offload those 10,000 negative thoughts, and to have only holy relationships. So years ago, I said, only holy relationships. All my relationships have been transformed. I do not have any unhappy relationships. None anymore. It's amazing. This really works. And so you can register for my free call on Saturday at jenniferhadley.com on the Masterful Living page. I invite you to share with friends, and I've been doing a series. Last week it was From Misery to Mastery, because many people are experiencing this influx of light as we're preparing for the winter solstice, the end of the Mayan calendar, and I feel the dawn of this golden age that we're stepping into as we're all waking up together. And many people are experiencing this increase in light as being very, very challenging. Others are feeling it as being very, very supportive. So I'm interested in talking about it with you. So please register for the free call at jenniferhadley.com on the Masterful Living page. All right, so I'm here with Cindy Laura Renard, and we're remembering to laugh in our relationships. And
yes, and I wanted to clarify that remembering to laugh, it's, you want to still come from a place of compassion. So the idea is to just in your mind, you're just acknowledging that you don't have to take everything so seriously. It's not about laughing at the other person and literally going, ha ha ha, that didn't mean anything to me, or that's not what I meant by remembering to laugh. It's really something you can do in your inner world, in your mind. You're just remembering not to take the tiny mad idea or the thought of separation so seriously. So when something is disturbing to you, it's just about lightening up in your mind, and part of that again is making that shift in the moment in your mind, making that shift to be in a place of accepting the Holy Spirit's peace instead of the ego's judgment.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Exactly. And it works every time if we're willing.
Yes. It does take willingness. It does take some willingness to do this work and to say there has to be a better way. I think everybody comes to the point at some point that says, that there's got to be a better way. People really don't have to suffer. And they can take control of how they're looking at things, how they choose to feel. It's all the power lies in the mind to do that. And part of that is this stuff really takes practice every day to do. Every day, use every opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. You remind me, Cindy, that I tell a story, which I'm not going to tell now, but of an experience I had with my mother when she was ill, and I missed an opportunity to be loving and kind with her because I was in fear and judgment. And it was such a teacher to me. I don't ever want to miss an opportunity to be loving and kind anymore. Mm. Yeah, and we can really live that way. It may seem daunting, but we just decide again and again and again that that's what we're doing. We partner up with the higher Holy Spirit self, and it transpires. So we've only got about 5 minutes left here, Cindy. I want to ask you, one of the meditations on your Meditations for Couples CD is called Allowing in Your Life Partner. And one of the things I teach about is allowance and allowing. So I'd just love to hear what you have to share about that.
Yeah, well, Gary and I wanted to include something on the CD for people that aren't in a romantic relationship but would like to be. Part of this meditation is about accepting where you are now, that it's okay to be where you are now, that just because you're not in a relationship with somebody doesn't mean there's something that you're doing wrong. It's about moving into a right-minded place. It's a way about thinking of where you are now that really brings in letting go of resistance. In other words, it helps people to let go of a resistance that might be keeping them from being open to receiving a romantic partner. So this meditation just sort of is a way for people to look at their situation without judgment and accepting, saying, hey, it's okay where I am now, because it encourages being peaceful, too, where you are now, because when you're feeling that, when you're exuding that peace, no matter what's going on, that is attractive to people. People are attracted to confidence. They're attracted to security. When someone is secure with themselves and they're really joyful and they're peaceful, it's like being a magnet to others, where they may even, you may even start to feel like people are approaching you, more, because they're drawn to the light in you. So that's what this meditation does. It just sort of helps people to let go of resistance of feeling that they're in a lackful place because they're not with a partner, and shift it to being in a place of, a place where it's perfectly okay, where you are.
Beautiful.
Now. Mm-hmm. And in turn, that brings in, that's part of the allowing part. You're just allowing whatever is in that moment to be, without the judgment attached to it.
Beautiful. And you know what else, Cindy, I want to share, and you can tell other people about this too. As I was listening to the CD, what occurred to me is I can listen to these meditations for couples, and as a single woman who is available for partnership, I can imagine my husband sitting with me, or my partner sitting with me, and that we're doing this together. So it's like calling him in by, calling his energy in to sit with me, even though, because there's no time and space, and we know that. We know that we're already connected. So people can do that as well.
Absolutely. Even though the meditations are designed for, they say, yes, join with your partner, and the partner is supposed to be sitting kind of right beside you. If your partner is not there, or you want to imagine, you can actually substitute anybody in your mind instead of a romantic partner. You can really, the content in the meditations can be applied to most relationships. And so, yes, your partner doesn't literally have to be there, because everything is in the mind anyway. And you can still do the work of it. But I do recommend, if you are in partnership with someone and they are physically present, that you do them together, because I think it'll be even more effective, and that's the purpose, to join, with each other in that space. And then, because then you can share, part of this is being able to share what your experiences are after the meditation's complete. You can kind of sit and just talk about it and share what came up for you. That's
beautiful.
Part of the joining process. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at time here, and just real quick, because we only have just a few seconds, Cindy, what is the website where people can go and order the CD?
Yeah, there's 3 different websites they can go to. I'll give, the first one would be fearlessbooks.com. D. Patrick Miller is the publisher of the CD, and that can be found at fearlessbooks.com.
We're almost out of time.
CindyLora.com, CindyLora.com, and then GaryRenard.com. Those are the 3 websites.
Okay, beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to invite everyone to place their hand on their heart. We're going to close with a prayer here. And what I know for each and every one of us, as we take this holy breath, the breath of God, that we are in a divine partnership with ourselves, that we're in a divine partnership with all of life. And so what I know is that love is the healer, and we are healed right now. We're calling it forth. We're accepting it. We're allowing it. We're receiving it. We are it. In grace and gratitude, we share the benefits with everyone because we're one with them. We let it be. And so it is. Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Jennifer. It was great. Great to be on your show.
Yeah.
Thanks
God
for having
bless
me.
you. Thank you, everyone.
You too.
Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to A Course in Miracles, Living the Love, Walking the Talk, with Reverend Jennifer Hadley. Join us every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Central for more tools and insights into how to express your beliefs from moment to moment, every day, in every way. A Course in Miracles, Living the Love, Walking the Talk, only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world. This program is brought to you in part by JenniferHadley.com, a global resource providing tools, insight, and support for those seeking to live A Course in Miracles every day in every way. Online at www.jenniferhadley.com. While there, we invite you to visit Jennifer's blog, where you can join with the community of like-minded people who have become Jennifer's prayer partners through her daily power prayer. Like them, you can enjoy this extra support as you come to walk your talk and live A Course in Miracles every day in every way.